So we're going to go on a little adventure today and have some fun. I'm going to show you guys how I play a little bit. This is Doc Starz, aka Donald Adams. Thank you for everyone's support, and I haven't been as in touch with everyone as I would have liked to the last while. So I want to remedy that by staying in touch and just kind of giving you, some brief personal updates as to what's going on in my life. So today was a good day. This last year especially, I've been just working furiously on multiple projects. There's not a lot of time outside of that. Things are going really, really well. I'm experiencing a degree of freedom, and we've seen an expansion. I now have a lab type facility that's 3 to 4 times the size it was before. I've had a number of clients, mainly in Canada, some in the US, that have also been providing different kinds of equipment to use for different kinds of projects. And so that's really going generally well. There's some challenges, but overall good progress is being made. And it was a great day today. I took some video earlier, deep blue skies with white fluffy clouds, and I tried to share that with you guys, but my phone didn't work, so I'm just doing a retake here. I'm also going to just try to express some encouragement. I know that for a lot of people it hasn't been easy this last while, especially this summer was a tough summer for a lot of people. And I'm living testimony about how you can go through a tough time and come out the other side and be way better for it and way happier. A sign of, they say that progress is related to happiness, and that success, comes through, discipline and structure. So you self-actualize to the degree that you honestly, authentically become aware of how you should be structuring and disciplining your life. And it'll be a sign for those of you that you're on the right path. If you're like me and your physical vitality has been getting better and things that matter to you the most in life are flourishing. If you're stuck in some kind of merry-go-round where the same drama keeps going on and you're stuck in it, and you're mainly interacting with low-quality people, you're getting bad advice from ignorant, stupid, selfish people, and you're blissfully unaware as to what really matters, chances are things are going to stay the same or they're going to get worse. So I'm blessed, but I also I've tried to honestly do whatever hard work had to be done, which wasn't easy, and I want to encourage you to do the same thing. Since my ex has been gone, I sleep regularly. I don't have to take painkillers before I try to go to sleep. I've had zero drama. The quality of the people that I relate with has just gone sky high. I have meaningful relationships on a regular basis, and I don't have to put up with idiots masquerading as, caring friends or caring family. So anyway, what we're going to do here is we're going to take you on a little trip. I'm going to show you most of my day is work. And like I say, I've been really blessed just by the support of long-term clients. This last 2 years especially has been really the best 2 years I think I've had in a long time. And things are going really crazy well right now. So I'm gonna hop on my ride here, and then we're gonna start to move out. So this is my sweet ride, my little Geo, and we're gonna hop on this, and I'm gonna take you on a spin around town. It's really awesome because the apple tree is full. We're just getting apples off it there. My sister did a really good job at getting all the gardening done, and she's got the greenhouse set up over in the corner. She's got it heated and insulated. So we've been just really kind of enjoying. We had 52 days of rain, but we somehow managed to get a decent garden in. But I'm going to hop on my little steed here, and it's so much fun to ride, guys. This is an electric scooter. I highly recommend it. I get from point A to point B pretty much anywhere I want in town. I'd say in maybe like a third the time that people driving cars and trucks would. It's insane. I think it's the small wheelbase. I can turn on a dime and I can drive pretty much anywhere I want, because it's not regulated traffic wise the same way as a car, so I just have better access to where I want to go. But the town that I live in has recently massively extended the nature trails, so the places that I have to go are just gorgeous. And usually my average day is full of a lot of work, which I'm grateful for. But what I try to do is take a few breaks when I can, and then I have the opportunity to go on some just amazing sights, like if I'm going to go get a coffee or whatever. So I'm going to get on it, and I'm going to show you guys some of the trail, and then we'll have a few chats. I might be recording a few times while the bike is moving, and I don't have an external mic for this mobile phone yet. So my voice might be a little bit muffled just from the wind on the trail. All right, I'll be back with you guys. So I got my helmet on. It does the job. It's a carbon fiber. I think it looks fairly plain, simple, and modest. But I guess people, yeah, I never really care about what I look like as long as I look decent. I'd rather just focus on what needs to be done, you know? But I guess it has kind of a neat surface. It's like a carbon fiber. I don't really care. I don't really care how I look. I'm just having fun. So we're gonna get rolling here, and I'll show you guys the trail that I get on here real soon. I have to access this trail through a certain kind of area, and it's like a secret passageway kind of. So what I got to do is I got to navigate down this side street. It's kind of a cool little side street. I used to play in this area when I was a kid, but there's this gateway coming up, and I got to zip through this one gate, and then I get onto this like just crazy, massive, extensive nature trail and smorgasbord. So this is the secret trail, and I'm going through two people's houses off the street. Now I'm going to go on this little area. I'm going really slow right now so you can hear me, but it's crazy how fast this like electronic scooter can go. It's actually insane. So the highway's over to the left. I can actually go pretty darn good on this nature trail. There's no traffic, and it goes just everywhere. So anyway, I'm just gonna ride for a bit, and then I'll be back in touch with you guys. The sun's setting right now. I'm gonna go down here a little ways. It was really sunny and bright today, but I'm gonna take you to some of my favorite spots. On this trail, there's like a bunch of hills, like some really steep ones. So if I'm already going pretty fast, you go down that hill and it's a shit show, people. But I still have to go slow-ish because of, like, you know, it's great that I can go on these trails, but I have to be careful not to go too fast. I got to stay within legal. So I think even e-bikes have legal limits I've got to go to. But I'm gonna go up that hill in the distance. I don't know if you can see it. But I'm going to scoot down there, probably meet up with some friends. I don't know how well you can see that. And then I'm going to zip down those hills and just continue forward. So our destination right now is, I'm going to take you guys to this wetlands. It's pretty amazing what they've done with it. And I can ride through the whole area, which is beautiful. Be there probably pretty soon. So the trip on the way to the wetlands is actually pretty cool. This trail, it warps in and around the river valley in these little neighborhoods, and there's like a lot of parks that are just sort of hidden away in the middle of no place. That's where he just came from. Now I'm following this trail right down to the wetlands. I stop and I want to take shots of different places that I go to, just so you guys have an idea. I'm right next to the river valley now. You know, years ago, there wasn't a lot to do and see down here. But over the last couple of years, it's extensive. Like, it's just brilliant. It's uncanny that I have access to this the way that I do, so close to home. Like, it's just... So when it's really nice out, it's so much fun to be able to get on my my scooter and just zip around. So we're still en route to the wetlands. Where I wanted to go was down at the bottom. That would have been awesome. But I think I've gone the opposite direction. I'm not sure if I can get there. I'm right at the top where it says you are here. And what I want to do is go all the way down there. So I can go this way, or I can go down that hill and try to get back. So I'll see. The sun's almost setting, so we'll see. Going down the hill, and we're going to see if we can track our way back to the wetlands. So I'm in the river valley now, and we're going to try and hunt this place down. I got to go where that light is, right in that little passage, and I think I come out pretty close to it. So this lady told me, you know, the quality of my conversations has increased so much. It seems like almost on a daily basis I have awesome conversations. A lady told me today that she saw a double rainbow. She got up at 6 in the morning. It only lasted for 30 minutes, and then she looked outside and the sky was like pink. Had a pink glow to it, and the sun looked really warm, happy. And she looked up in the sky and there was literally a double rainbow. So where I'm going is kind of towards where the sun is setting. I don't know if you can see it, but it's over there. So I'm well on my way. I just got to follow this trail and we're golden. So we're real close now, and I just wanted to show you guys. There is this little, they have this along the walking path. I'm sure that where you live, you probably have stuff like this too. But there's like a little kind of, the river valley is on the right, and then they have these little kind of like lookout points, right? So, and there's like little benches next door. I don't know if you can see it, but it's that little gate-like thing right there. Yeah. Let's see, I'm trying to adjust my video there. Still getting used to how this thing works. And then there's another one off in the distance to the left. I don't get a chance to get out here as much as I'd like because I'm working so much, but the number of times I have come out when it's been a really nice day, usually there's some pretty awesome people down here. Probably because they're escaping into nature too. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a lot of big ponds in this area. There's one right there to the left, you can kind of see. But these trails, they just go on forever and ever. So that's the river on the right. It looks pretty nice with the sun setting right now. We've seen a lot of Canadian geese going south for the winter. And we had a few pretty cold days there. We were kind of worried that it was going to be over for the summer season, but the last couple of days were really nice. This is really hilly, but behind those hills are some pretty big ponds. And then, if you can see down in the distance, it's like a boat launch, and there's like a huge center there. that little building right there. So I'm at the boat launch. That's the river right there. If you go down that trail, you can, basically launch like canoes or motorboats or whatever. And then down there it's a pretty awesome, like huge pond with a walkway around it. So I'm gonna go check that out. So I'm just gonna give you guys kind of like a bird's eye view of what this is like here. A different ex-girlfriend of mine that I have stayed in touch with, who actually contacted me, super cool, and apologized for stuff I never thought she'd apologize for. She's come out a number of times and we've just hung out, had a good time. She likes to come here and talk about philosophy and life and spirituality and science. And every time we've come out here, it's always been a nice day. We walk this circuit for hours and always feel better for it afterwards. It's there's so many places I'm going to try to take you guys on. I should have done it earlier in the season, but just the work, it's hard to get away like just with work, and I actually can't tarry too much longer because I got to get back to work. There's so much to do. But yeah, this is like just one of many spots you would never expect an industrial prairie town to have. Like having access to this like awesome ride that I've got, it really changes. It's a game changer. I think what I would suggest to you guys, if you've had a hard time like this year, like if you've had challenges, I've had the benefit of resources, mentors, and some pretty awesome friends to help me get through tough times. And what you want to do is you want to learn what you can, find the nuggets, like the golden spiritual nuggets, and don't forget what you've learned and apply it. Like this year is a game changer. Like it's actually a really important year. So you want to try to get your game together, get your life together. You want to try to avoid the crowd, avoid the collective noise, avoid the nonsense. Really focus on what matters the most in your heart. If you have a relationship with God, or whatever you want to call it. I believe in God myself. I mean, I'm a research scientist, but everything I've ever seen in my life, if I'm real honest with myself, it's like there's definitely a God. So get right in your heart, get right in your relationship with God, and then do your best to focus on what really matters the most in your life. Because it's this year. It would take too long to go into, but this year is really important. The choices that you make and the experiences that you have this year, they're going to be around for a long time, or at least the influence of them. So if your life has been not so great this last while, or if it has been really great, then take heart, because you're probably on the right path. And if you've been going through a lot of shit, then get real clear, about who you are, what really matters to you. Here's some red flags. Here's some things to be aware of. As much as you can, try to avoid people that are constantly seeking status and resources. Like the whole meaning for their life is how much status and resources can they accumulate. And whatever that status is, usually it's just ridiculous. And it's stunning to me how outright narcissism can blatantly pose as a appealing, charming, innocent-hearted person when they're anything but that. There's some pretty fascinating little monstrous creatures out there that pretend on the surface to be whatever everyone else wants or what they think everyone else wants, but in reality they're just a walking black hole. And don't become that, and avoid that as much as you can. You only have one life to live, so focus on people that are, they're innocent-hearted. Their attitude and what drives them is usually some form of, open, honest service to others, not just trying to, accumulate attention or whatever it is. And I think what you're going to find, someone told me that this year certain archetypes in the collective consciousness are essentially dying out. And essentially what's dying out is, it's the party girl. That one is now in the collective, even in the collective consciousness, it's just going to be pitied as being ridiculous, like obscenely ridiculous and pathetic. So what you want to do is you want to focus on getting away. There's a poem that I read from Robert Frost as a child that always stayed with me, and it's about seeing a path in a forest, and it forks two ways. And so one way, if he follows the path, it's well trodden, it's clear, a lot of people go down it. And the other one is, it's a little bit obscured and it's hidden in the undergrowth. And he said that he took that road, that path, and it made all the difference. The other thing too is be sure about your circle. It's common for a lot of people. It's strange how often I've had this conversation. People from all backgrounds, walks, and ages feel isolated. But you can't find the people that you're meant to be with until you become the kind of person that you're supposed to be. And I know that in my life, the more that I've made a consistent effort to strive towards that, like the better the people have been that have been arriving. They're not driven by gossip or, trying to one-up each other, or put themselves on a pedestal and brag about their arrogance. Like they're usually people that are productive, they're vital, they have a happy, positive attitude that has a solid basis in reality. And those are the people that you should try to network with, and they're out there. They're not always easy to find, but they, from my own personal experiences, they come when they're supposed to, and they come when you're ready, And usually that's not too long after there's a change of heart. So if you've been through a tough time the last month, or the last few months, or the last year, take a really good look at what state your heart is in. Really take a good look. And to the degree that you're being dishonest with yourself and dishonest with others, expect your environment to reflect that as a sort of a turbulent, chaotic, progressively mucky pit. It just doesn't get better. And some people won't ever get off that. And some people tell themselves lies, or they don't want to change their hearts, so they listen to other people's lies, or they mix the two of them up. And it just gets worse. The drama just continues. But you don't have to do that. So the sun is setting here now. I'm just going to head back. There's a lot of other places I'd like to take you to with me. And if the weather holds, then I'm probably going to have to get out and do this a bit more. Because there's just so many awesome places to show you guys. Winter comes fairly early here, often in Canada. I have a feeling we might have an early winter. So I'm probably going to have to get another car. Hopefully that should be in place. It's September now, so I'll have to put my bike into storage, and then we'll get a car on the road. Hopefully no later than late November of this year. And then I'll take you on some trips in the car. Maybe we can go on some snowy winter wonderland trips. And I'll show you some of the places I go then. I think one one of the things that I would suggest, I know that I've found it really, really helpful, especially when we're going through tough times. You know, there's such a thing as a tough time for an individual, and there's a tough time for a collective society. And I think a lot of people are going to be going through both of that. If you haven't seen the updates on our site, soundofstars.org, the private links that are sent to members, just advising of trends, you might want to check that out. The other thing is, I know that for myself, I've been having an uptick like crazy, which is great. Like, I'm happy for it. Of clients just wanting, like, forecasting insights. One of the things that we do is we take a look at how different kinds of trends appear in a person's life, and I think that that's probably meaningful. Yeah, so what we do is we look at the trends that are happening in a person's life. And we've actually got some astounding tools that have been developed just within the last 2 years to a place where it's pretty helpful, pretty meaningful. Most of the clients I do the trend forecasting on are business people that wanted to get insight into their decision-making process. But with stuff that people have been going through and what's happening in the world, it's a pretty good idea to try to figure out in advance where are you going to experience the most opportunity, for growth and development and relationships, certainly finances, and then, where can you also, put attention to, what are the hazards, so what are the pitfalls or dangers, that might await you over a period of time. And I use a lot of different tools for this, but the basic premise is just that background periodic changes have an influence on how a human being or a living organism experiences its environment. Probably one of the ways that this happens the most is just through small perturbations atmospherically, and also in the local ambient gravitational and magnetic field. So I'll give you a really simple example. The magnetic field has a huge part to play in our behavior and certainly affecting our physiology. If you haven't run across this fellow, you should really check out his work. I believe it's Patrick Callahan. Callahan did some great work on how the local magnetic field in the topsoil of a region affected behavior. So basically what he discovered was that variability in magnetic field strength, so you're measuring the soil in milligauss, but there was a correlation between the magnetic field strength in the soil and the collective behavior. And that's why, for instance, he found that in certain regions of the planet you had ambient magnetic field that had been in a fairly static region for a long period of time, and then they would either have collective habituated behavior towards aggression, so a lot of conflict in that area, or they might have habituated behavior towards being pacifistic, so more peaceful, more harmonious. So where you live, like where you physically are, really matters. And then there's also the timing of that. Like, to give you an example, imagine that your body, the constitution of who you are, your psyche, your personality, your emotions, your rationale, your physical body. Like, imagine that all had kind of like a very specific kind of geometric circuitry to it. So if we put you in one environment, you might thrive, but if we put you in a different environment, it might be more challenging. So imagine how beneficial that would be if you could actually know where those places were. Kind of see it off in the distance, but it's a big patch. They look really like they're beautiful. Probably can't tell from the video, but they must be like 16 feet tall. That's insane. So yeah, I was just saying that where you live matters. One of the things I've been doing for clients is trying to figure out or help them figure out where should they be and when to experience what kind of, you know, people usually have their own ranking, or like a healthy person. A healthy person usually has some kind of priority on what matters the most to them in life. Usually that has something hopefully related to like a quality of experience that enriches them and, you know, like enriches their soul and also really helps others grow. I mean, that's what it should be. Something along those lines. Everybody does it differently. I mean, you might write, you know, you might like, maybe you paint, you know, maybe you sing, but there should be like a greater purpose that you're serving other than just, you know, seeking attention for the sake of seeking attention for self-validation or whatever. But this year, trying to get a handle on where you should physically be is important. And also, it's this year you should really try to figure out what matters the most to you. Like, if you don't have a vision, you need to develop and cultivate that. If you do have a vision, then you need to take steps to make that concrete. That's really important. And one of the things that we do is we can take a look, you know, over a period of time using the forensic tools that I use. We can usually get a pretty good handle on what are your finances going to be like over the next month, over the next 6 months, over the next year. You know, what's your emotional and family life going to be like? I'm going down a hill. You know, and also just other things that matter to you. It could be like, you know, your love life, what's happening in your romantic life. I think probably one of the things that have been really, really helpful for me and for other people that I know too is, you know, take a look at, if you haven't, like, my background is research science, but I'm also into, you know, astrology. People know that, but I don't practice astrology like a average, typical, normal, traditional astrologer. I try to approach it scientifically, and I try to see what kind of mechanism or structure can be extracted from astrology while we filter out, you know, fiction, and then how can that be applied practically. It gives you a chance to know in advance how to surf that wave. And that's one of the things that we do at soundofstars.org. We've got a lot of amazing new things coming down the pipeline. I've stayed pretty quiet about a lot of them. I'll explain the why of that soon. About 3 years ago, I felt disheartened because I thought that a line of research was going to basically end up not getting to where I wanted it to go. But just in the last year and a half, 2 years, massive breakthroughs, huge. Completely justifies all of the effort and time that I put into everything. I've been at this a long, long time, and so we're at a situation where an enormous part of that is consolidated. We're seeing the fruits and the rewards of that starting to manifest, so I'm happy about that. But we've got some new products that are coming out, some new concepts, some new ideas, really exciting. But if you want to get a window, if you want to get some insight into what's going on in your life, you know, where should you be going, what should you be doing, send me an email. You can send it to doc_stars@yahoo.com, doc_starz@yahoo.com. And my plate's full right now, and it's funny because it's mostly from word of mouth, which is great. You know, but if you have a need and you need some insight, you need some support, or you've got questions, send me an email. I'll do the best that I can to get you in, and I hope that you're doing well. And if you're not on our mailing lists yet, check that out. And we'll do everything we can to stay in touch with you and keep you up to speed. So I hope you enjoyed that little trip with me. Thanks again to everyone. You've all been just like amazingly fantastic. I haven't felt this good in like over 10 years. It's still stress. I have an enormous workload. I'm working way more than I ever did. But I've also been getting regular, almost daily exercise, and it's making a difference. And it's my ex laughed. I imagine her drama has just gone on and on. That's my best guess. But I mean, I'm just doing like so much better. It's insane. I mean, like if you're in a situation where you've been stuck dealing with someone that's just a toxic person underneath, but is superficially charming, and if you're in a position to get out of that situation, if you're like me, you'll be astounded at how much better things get. We are back. The sun has set. I'm just going to power the bike down. I'm going to get my groceries out. It's great having... It's funny because this bike has got crazy storage. If you're living in an urban environment, there's a couple of things. Just got back from my bike trip, and there's a couple of things that I wanted to share with you guys. Just sort of like thoughts that were kind of percolating in my head. I want to share some of these things with you because I think that they'll help you over the next year. This year, and frankly for the next couple of years, but especially this year, what you should be doing, as much as you can, is you should try to find and seek out what areas in your life, are grimy, basically. You want to try to get, a minimum number of elements in your life that are, destructive or distracting. You want to try to get rid of that. And you want to try to also develop, as much as you can, an environment. But if there's something in your life that's, grimy, like that has grime, it's just like, some people seem to have this self-destructive, morbid, infatuation with the creepy, the disturbing. It's generally the sign of an unhappy space in a closet deep someplace in the psyche that needs to be cleaned up. But most people, myself included, we've had parts of our lives that were just grimy. They just needed a good cleaning. And it can manifest different ways. Like the more grimy you let your life become, inside and out, the more grimy characters will be attracted to you. And, the more that you're severely honest with yourself about who you are and what matters to you, then you stop paying attention to the drones that are out there. If somebody's trying to flatter you, or they're trying to, be nice to you because they want something from you. The world's a big place, and you matter, and you're here for a reason. You have a purpose. And there's no reason that you shouldn't have good people in your life that care about you and that support you and appreciate you for who you are. So I think one of the tricks this year is, I don't want to encourage you to try to escape your obligations, but definitely parse them. In other words, apply a righteous, approach to filtering things out of your life that shouldn't be there. And do it from a higher perspective, do it from a higher sense of heart, not just like, You know, there's selfishness and then there's selfishness. You know, it's okay to want to be self-actualized and to take harmless steps towards fulfilling that. And then there's a different kind of selfishness that you can tell the difference because it's like acid. You know, it eats things away that don't necessarily need to be eaten away. So in your life this year, you know, pursue, you know, as much as you can a state of innocence. Try to be creative and productive. You know, seek out people that are, you know, inclined towards harmony. And, you know, if that's, again, I don't want to, this is not meant to be a plug, but if you need help with that, if you need help discovering, you know, who are you, where are you at, you know, where should you be going, what should you be doing, chances are you could probably benefit from taking a look at some of the specifics of it. But a big takeaway is that a lot of the indulgent and excessive personalities and, you know, behaviors and inclinations, those aren't going to do so well over the next while. You know, people that are posers, like they pretend to be some kind of enlightened being, but they're actually just superficial narcissists. You know, I guess one red flag to look for is that if you see someone who's constantly going through drama and at the same time they're constantly virtue signaling, they're constantly trying to send off like public cues about how good of a person they are, and you know what they post environmental activist type posts, blah 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 blah, but their own lives are just, you know, deep inside and where nobody else can see. They treat themselves badly, and then the people that they're the closest to, that they treat those badly too, just because. So you want to get away from that. You know, this year you want to carve out some kind of meaningful, happy space that you can thrive in, that you can work hard at, and be creative and productive at. And that's what I would really encourage you towards. And, you know, if you feel a pull towards being more into philosophy and discovering, you know, what life is about, then do that. And if you feel pulled more towards being creative and productive and making something really cool and meaningful, then do that. But as much as you can, try to avoid just the arrogant, ugly, you know, social collective scene, because it's really on a downward spiral. It's not going to go anywhere. And anybody that jumped on that train, you know, there's an old Disney movie, Pinocchio, and Pinocchio is trying to set out to become a real boy, and he ends up getting involved with some basically assholes, you know, that are promising him a fun, entertaining, good time. So they end up at a circus, and they're all smoking cigars, and they're indulging, and they're drinking, and they're partying. And then he notices that they all start turning into donkeys. And then some really nasty, you know, human comes up and starts taking all the donkeys and stuffing them into wagons, and they're going to be basically sent off to a lifetime of slavery and abuse. So Pinocchio is already sprouting like donkey ears, and he makes it out of there. So this year you got to be like Pinocchio. This year you got to escape the circus, forego the excessive indulgence, and just like the mindless self-gratification for the sense of self-gratification. Avoid the haughty, you know, it could be men or ladies acting like they're aristocrats, but really they're just lonely, miserable, isolated people on the inside. You just want to avoid that crowd. You know, today I went for a ride on my little Geo e-bike, and the last few days have been really meaningful. You know, when I sense that there's like pressure building up in the collective of craziness, I withdraw in advance. I go do my own thing. And when the energy is more positive and harmonious, and there's like good-natured people about, then I go out and I enjoy their company. And it's really good to be able to manage that in advance, and to know how to manage that in advance. You know, One thing that I think also a lot of people have gone through this year is a sense of loss. So I know for me, one of those things was that I was told about a year ago that my mom died. And she died under unusual circumstances, and I never had a chance to see her before she passed. So that was tough. And it took a while to process. And all you can do is just try to, keep moving forward, keep doing your best, don't lose heart. And, again, if you can insert whatever term that works for you, but, for me, what works for me is like if God takes something out of your life, if you're doing your best to stay true to the path that you should be on, you're always taken care of. You're always taken care of. And so whatever you need, it may not come exactly at the time that you might want or hope for, but my experience has been it comes at the right time. And so if you've experienced some kind of deep loss this year, take a look at it. It'll be different for different people. Sometimes it's just a random act. Other times, it's something that's going on in the environment. Sometimes it's something that's inside, that's erupted like a volcano, and then it's caused catastrophe around you. And sometimes it's a mix of all those things. But the first thing to do, if you're like a ship at sea and it's stormy weather, they have this thing for ships called the attitude. We think of attitude, we think of, what is the attitude of a person. But when I was talking with a few clients over the last while, we were talking about, well, what's the attitude of a ship at sea? The attitude of a ship at sea is where, the floor level of the ship is horizontal and perpendicular in a smooth way, to the ocean surface. So what does that mean? It means that when you're standing on the floor of the ship and it's a calm sea, you're not rolling and pitching back and forth, that you're able to stand with balance. But when the sea gets turbulent, the attitude of the ship changes. So if there's a steep wave that comes, well, the floor of the ship is no longer lateral or horizontal to the surface of the ocean. Now it's like on a 45-degree angle. Now the boat is pitching and rolling back and forth, and it can be hard to get your balance in that sort of situation. And so life is like that. And, when you're going through it, it can be tough if you get a hard right angle where you're off center and you're trying to cope and figure things out. So the first thing that I suggest, if you go through that, or if you've gone through that, give yourself a chance to orient. And by orient, what I mean is you need to have like a proper, accurate, objective assessment as to what's actually happening inside you and your environment. And then you have to adjust, and try to compensate, but not compensate in the way of where, you don't put mindful attention, effort, and energy to correcting the situation, but you just kind of like deny that it's happening. So you don't want to deny that it's happening. You don't want to try to like distract yourself endlessly with whatever it is, entertainment or mindless chatter, or, goofing around too much, being silly too much, joking too much, or, making excuses. The best thing to do is, just be really brutally honest with yourself. And as much as you can, as much as you're able, be brutally honest with other people. And then adjust your orientation. Because the sea won't stay, turbulent forever. So you put a little bit of effort, a little bit of awareness, a little bit of time and energy into properly trying to manage your environment and circumstances. Be a good person, adjust to what's going on, and then make progress forward as you're able to. So I hope that helps. I just felt like I should say something more. So I think that concludes our chat. I'll be in touch with everyone soon. Like I say, there's some pretty exciting new developments coming up, and I will be releasing information on that soon. All right, take care, everyone.